WTOL 11 News on Plus. I'm Michael Sandlin. Thank you so much for joining us on your Saturday evening. We'll get to all of our top stories and more in just a moment, but first, a good check of our forecast. Meteorologist John Birchfield. John, this is not exactly the June weather I was expecting.
No, it hasn't been a typical start to the weekend. However, we are all done with the rain and things are going to turn brighter and milder for your Father's Day, with temperatures climbing into the upper 70s and a really pleasant conclusion to your Father's Day weekend. Cloud cover is clearing on out and dissipating, moving to the south with some sunshine on deck for your Saturday evening. Temperatures still well below average. We've actually reached the 70s in lower Michigan, but stuck in the 60s with a lake breeze for much of northwest Ohio. The last of those showers and thunderstorms now pushing off into central Ohio as a frontal boundary sinks to the south. Father's Day starting off with a bit of a chill in the air for that morning round of golf, and heading into the afternoon for a cookout or a backyard barbecue. Temperatures in the upper 70s with bright sunshine that will be expected. 78 degrees and partly sunny for your Father's Day. That northeast wind is still going to prevail at 10 to 20 miles per hour. After that, our next big impact arrives next week with an unsettled weather pattern turning hotter and much muggier, and there will be several days with storm chances for the week ahead. Quiet weather continues into Monday with partly sunny skies. However, by Tuesday, a few pop-up storms will be possible, and Wednesday is going to be in the upper 80s with widespread storm chances. A few of them could be on the stronger side. Hour by hour forecast: a dry Father's Day, those showers pushing off into southeastern Ohio. Monday is expected to be dry as well. Some computer model data showing a couple pop-ups in Indiana, but I'm not expecting any rain for us. And by Tuesday, there will be some isolated thunderstorm chances. Most of those storms Tuesday are going to be benign. A couple downpours possible, but just the pop-up variety. And then Wednesday, bringing more widespread storms to the region. Wednesday, there is a 60% storm chance. Our next cold front drops us from 87 to 80 Thursday, and it's going to turn less humid with sunshine returning for your Friday. But the summer heat builds into next weekend in what could be our first 90-degree day of the season. Michael?
All right, thanks, John. Thousands of communities across the U.S. gathered today to host No Kings protests. These protests are a show of resistance to the current president, his administration, and his military parade in Washington. Megan Hartnett was at the demonstrations right here in Northwest Ohio.
I'm very concerned about the country, and I just feel we need to stand up. We do not need a king.
Protesters of all ages lined the streets of downtown Bowling Green, hoping to make it clear not everyone agrees with the president. Some attendees say what they're seeing in Washington, D.C. is scary.
I'm concerned about the people that he has put in his administration that are so unqualified.
Others voiced concerns about immigration and deportations, the Department of Government Efficiency, and funding cuts for veteran resources.
All the money and positions that they're eliminating or short funding are going to make it very difficult down the road.
For some people, this was the first time they've taken their problems to the streets. Others have been here before, fighting for women's and civil rights, and they're not done yet.
Protesting back then and now have to do it all over again. It's sad to see what this country is going back to instead of going forward.
Attendees are hoping their lawmakers get the message.
So, Mr. Latta, I would hope that you would see this and you would stand up and be counted.
Meanwhile, downtown Toledo saw thousands take to Summit Street, echoing the same concerns.
The leaders seem to be reluctant to do so. So that's when the people have to come up and say, we need to address this. We need to restore, well, my son's balance of power. That's been missing.
The administration's handling of deportations were front of mind. People say it has them worried their families and neighbors could be next.
I do have concerns for my parents just because I feel like they're going to be racially profiled even though they have legal status here, and not only for my parents but for many people who reside here in Northwest Ohio.
For these people, expressing their frustration is not only necessary, it's a right, and one they say we can only have when America doesn't have a king.
It doesn't take one person caring a whole awful lot to change it. It takes all of us caring a little bit more.
Reporting for WTOL 11, I'm Megan Hartnett.
Now, WTOL 11 reached out to Representative Bob Latta after people called him out. He sent a statement reading, quote, "I'm honored to represent the people of Ohio's 5th Congressional District, and I'm constantly meeting with constituents from the Indiana border to Lorain County to hear their concerns and fight for their priorities," end quote. WTOL 11 did reach out to other local Republican representatives for comment, but we have yet to hear back. Now, these protests against the current administration took place in multiple cities across the U.S., but they weren't the biggest concern for politicians today. Authorities in Minnesota are urgently searching for a gunman they say targeted 2 Democratic state lawmakers overnight, killing one and her husband and wounding the other lawmaker and his wife. Inside the suspect's vehicle, police say they found handwritten signs that read "No Kings," an apparent reference to the demonstrations. CBS News brings us the latest details.
A massive manhunt is underway in the Minneapolis area after authorities say a man posing as a police officer shot and killed Minnesota Democratic state lawmaker Melissa Hortman and her husband Mark in their Brooklyn Park home.
Today we are asking for the public's help at this point in time in locating Vance Luther Bolter, who is a 57-year-old white male who is 6 feet 1 inch tall, 220 pounds with brown hair and brown eyes.
Officials say the suspect also shot and wounded Democratic State Senator John Hoffman and his wife Yvette at their home about 9 miles away. Governor Tim Walz spoke about the attack that has sent shockwaves across the nation.
My good friend and colleague, Speaker Melissa Hortman, and her husband Mark were shot and killed early this morning in what appears to be a politically motivated assassination.
Police say the suspect was last seen Saturday morning wearing a tan cowboy hat with a dark shirt or coat.
Do not approach him. You should consider him armed and dangerous, and you should call 911 immediately with the information.
At one point after the shootings, officers encountered the suspect at Hortman's home. He opened fire and got away. Investigators towed a vehicle disguised with police lights and a police license plate from the home. Anna Schechter, CBS News.
Meanwhile, the event that helped spark today's protests is currently underway. President Trump is taking part in a massive military parade this evening commemorating the Army's 250th birthday. It also falls on the president's 79th birthday. The tribute started with a wreath laying at Arlington National Cemetery and culminated with a rare military parade featuring some 6,600 soldiers, 150 vehicles, including tanks dating back to World War I, armored fighting vehicles, and Black Hawk helicopters.
There's a reason why we don't do military parades like Russia and China and North Korea. We have an apolitical military. It doesn't just support a president, it supports the Constitution. And that's why this is a spectacle.
Army officials estimate costs of the festival and parade could land between $25 and $45 million. The Army says it's taking precautions to protect the streets from damage. The last time D.C. hosted a military parade was to mark the end of the Gulf War back in 1991. Iran launched retaliatory missile and drone strikes into Israel Saturday morning following Israel's attack on Iran's nuclear program. The U.S. is assisting in Israel's defense, but denies any involvement in the initial attack. CBS News tracks the fallout.
Overnight, explosions lit up the sky over Tel Aviv as Iran launched another counterattack. The Israeli military urged civilians to take shelter as they intercepted the strikes with the Iron Dome system. The U.S. is assisting in the defense, but some weapons slipped through. The IDF said dozens of people have been injured, some seriously, and there are reports of some deaths. Dozens of sites have been targeted. At daybreak, first responders assessed the damage. The intensifying conflict has the world worried about an all-out war. It ignited Friday when Israel attacked Iran's nuclear sites. Iran claimed hundreds were injured and at least 78 people were killed, including some top officials. Israel's attack had been in the works for months. Israeli media reports Israel's intelligence service, the Mossad, built a drone base inside Iran for the assault. This video released by Mossad showing Israeli soldiers on Iranian soil.
I do think what they're trying to do is to further illustrate how the Iranian regime has lost control of their country.
Crowds gathered in Tehran Saturday chanting death to Israel and death to America. Iran's supreme leader has vowed revenge, while Israel's prime minister appealed to the Iranian people.
We're also clearing the path for you to achieve your objective, which is freedom.
The U.S. says it is assisting with Israel's defense, but was not involved in the attack, insisting Israel took unilateral action against Iran. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News, New York.
Now, President Trump says he knew the attack was in the works, but he had publicly been appealing to Israel to hold off to let nuclear negotiations with Iran continue. The White House claims that talks scheduled for tomorrow are still on, despite the conflict. Meanwhile, this morning, Pope Leo appealed for authorities in Iran and Israel to act with, quote, reason following the airstrikes, and that they should pursue dialogue. He told an audience in St. Peter's Basilica he was following the situation with great concern, saying, quote, no one should ever threaten the existence of another. Well, thanks for joining us tonight. You can catch more exclusive content streaming on your schedule right here on WTOL 11+. Of course, John, thanks for joining me.
Yeah, the latest forecast coming up tonight at 11 as well.
So we'll see you then. But for now, take care.